This is QTV. Welcome to our news at this hour. We take a look at the headlines. The Constitutional Court has overturned the High Court's decision to nullify the election of Nkanduluo as Munali Member of Parliament. Police in Lusaka have arrested 3 pastors for theft. And the Council of Churches in Zambia, CCZ, has expressed concern over the delay by government to enact the Access to Information Bill. Here now is the news in detail. The Constitutional Court has reversed the decision by the High Court to nullify the election of Nkanduluo as Munali Member of Parliament. Professor Luo's election as Munali MP was nullified by High Court Judge Edward Musona after losing UPND candidate Doreen Mwamba petitioned her election citing electoral malpractices. In his ruling, which overturned the High Court decision, Constitutional Court Judge Enoch Mulembe said the lower court misdirected itself at law when it nullified Professor Luo's selection because there is no evidence to directly link her to the electoral malpractices. Judge Mulembe says the petitioner failed to adduce evidence directly linking Professor Luo to the allegations, and Professor Luo has expressed happiness over the outcome. She has since thanked the people who have supported her throughout the entire court process.
Okay. The only message I have now is that I've only got one message, just to thank all the people that supported this whole process. But I'll give a comprehensive reaction when I'm settled.
And Patriotic Front Secretary General Davis Mwela, who accompanied Professor Luo together with some cabinet ministers, has welcomed the Constitutional Court's ruling overturning the High Court's decision.
A victory for PF in that we've waited for this judgment for more than 2 years. What that means is that the judiciary is independent, there was no interference, so we have to continue now bring our
Police in Lusaka have arrested 3 pastors for theft of money. Deputy Police Spokesperson Ray Hamonga says Bishop John Nungwe, popularly known as Bishop John General, his wife Pastor Maureen Kakwende and Pastor Paul Kambazo, commonly known as Pastor Paul Fire, have been arrested in connection with a theft of money belonging to a 43-year-old Matilda Mwanza, who had gone to the Bishop Nungwe seeking healing for a toothache. In a statement, Mr. Hamonga has narrated that in March 2016, Matilda Mwanza of Foxdale residential area met Pastor Paul Fire in Tendere compound whilst she had a toothache, who assured her that Bishop John General would be able to cure her in Matero. He explains that upon meeting the bishop, Pastor Paul Fire tipped Bishop John General that Miss Mwanza had a check of 70,000 kwacha. He says Miss Mwanza was told to spend the night at the church, and whilst there, Pastor Maureen Kakwende, the wife to Bishop John General, advised her to open an account the following day. Mr. Hamonga says Pastor Kakwende accompanied Ms. Mwanza to the bank where upon opening an account, she was given an ATM card and withdrew a 40,000 kwacha. He says Ms. Mwanza was later told to pay the tithe amounting to 21,000 kwacha as advance payment for the next 4 months to the church, while the ATM card remained in the custody of Bishop John General's wife as the accountant of the church. Mr. Hamonga states that when Ms. Mwanza left for the University Teaching Hospital to access treatment as her toothache was worsening, Pastor Kakwende also left for Kaputa for a month and upon her return, handed over the ATM to the owner, who later discovered there was no money in the account. The three have since been released on police bond after spending a night in police custody and will appear in court soon. Leader of the opposition in Parliament, Jack Mwimbu, has stressed the need to accord members of Parliament who die whilst in service dignified funerals. Mr. Mwimbu is concerned that despite MPs being national leaders, their remains and funerals are treated like that of those who are ordinary citizens once they die. Contributing to a debate on a motion to convey the House's message of condolences to the family of the late Sesheke MP Frank Kufakwandi, Mr. Mwimbu says parliamentarians deserve a dignified send-off when they die. Mr. Mwimbu, who is also among the Central Member of Parliament, states that government should give MPs the due recognition of deserving leaders that are serving the nation with dignity and honor. He has also urged government to consider improving health facilities in the country to avoid spending public funds on evacuating national leaders who fall ill. Mr. Mwimbu has further called on the Speaker of the National Assembly, Patrick Matibini, to break the parliamentary tradition of delegating to others to attend funerals of members of Parliament who die while in service by attending such funerals in person.
Mr. Speaker, is not prudent. It's not prudent that the father of a child who has passed away does not attend the funeral. When the child dies, the father says to another child, "You will attend." He doesn't go. The traditions which are in this house are archaic, are old, and should not be tolerated. We should be moving forward, Mr. Speaker. The point I'm making, I know that the institution, Mr. Speaker, has captured you. I know my colleagues may not raise this issue, but I have been talking about this issue, and there have been urging and changes being made. I'm aware that from the time you ascended to that position, you have made several changes. We are aware you have been attending church services and so on, which was not there in the past, but we urge you to make the step fair and attend the funerals. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I would like to request and pray that the soul of our colleague is accepted by our good Lord.
And President Edgar Lungu has assigned Northwestern Province Minister Nathaniel Muhukwanu and Minister of National Guidance and Religious Affairs Godfrida Sumaili to represent government at the funeral of the late Sesheke MP. Mr. Muhukwanu has told the House in his debate on the notion of conveying the House's message of condolences to the family of the Kufakwandi that government regrets the MP's death.
Mr. Speaker, the late member was certainly dearly missed, and I can confidently say so even on behalf of the government of the Republic of Zambia. When we took note of his illness and the complications that he was grappling with, the government quickly moved in to have him evacuated to seek better medical care from where there were improved facilities. To this effect, your Honorable Mr. Speaker, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, has since appointed 2 ministers, myself and the Honorable Minister of National Guidance and Religious Affairs, Honorable Sumaili, to represent government at his funeral tomorrow in Sesheke. We would like to pray for the soul of the departed colleague to rest in eternal peace, and that the people of Sesheke Central will find solace in the loving care of our Lord.
The motion to convey the House's message of condolences to the family of the late Sesheke lawmaker was moved by Acting Leader of Government Business, Stephen Chungu. Opposition Patriots for Economic Progress PEP President Sean Tembo has hailed a government's decision to list Zafico on the Lusaka Securities Exchange, LUSE. Mr. Tembo says the move is progressive as long as government does not have any hidden agenda. He says if handled well, the move will allow ordinary Zambians to own a stake in their national asset, which will consequently increase corporate governance, accountability and transparency. Mr. Tembo adds that the development will also help in raising the much-needed capital on the open market. Since challenged people opposed to the listing of Zafico on Lusaka Securities Exchange to outline to the nation the alternative policy solution for dealing with poorly managed and often loss-making state-owned enterprises like Zafico. Mr. Tembo says Zambians should dismiss the people against the move if they do not have the alternative policy solutions to this matter.
Our position on this matter is that provided the PF government has got no ulterior motives on this proposed transaction, we as Patriots for Economic Progress fully support this proposed listing of Zafico on the Lusaka Securities Exchange for a number of reasons. First and foremost, when you list an entity on the stock exchange, it greatly improves the corporate governance, transparency and accountability for that entity because it requires to report to the various shareholders on a regular basis. In addition to that, the proposed listing of Zafico on LUSE will also allow Zambians to own a stake in the entity. And also, this will also facilitate the raising of the much-needed capital for the Zambia Forest and Forestry Industries Corporation, Zafico.
Council of Churches in Zambia CCZ General Secretary Father Emmanuel Chikoya has expressed concern over government's reluctance to enact the Access to Information Bill into law. Father Chikoya is disappointed that government has still not tabled the bill in Parliament, despite calls by stakeholders to have the bill enacted. He tells Q News that the absence of the Access to Information law is what is creating room for speculation on various issues, citing the speculation on the purported sale of Zafico. Father Chikoya says the Access to Information law is important when it comes to accessing information on national issues.
Government is duty-bound to avail information to its citizens. They must not wait until there are leakages. They must not wait until there are speculations. It is the duty of those in government to ensure that the right information is made available to the people of Zambia at any given stage. The battle, the challenge to get the Access to Information Bill has been going on for a long time. What is the problem? Who is benefiting from all this kind of stagnation regarding the enactment of this law? It's definitely not the citizens. And sometimes our leaders feel they'll benefit by keeping people ignorant. Actually, we don't benefit anything. We need to have people that are able to be given quality information at the right time. So it is to the government's advantage to ensure that information is shared, not by force, not because they are forced by circumstances. So it's unfortunate that we have these scenarios where people even get detained, and at times lives are at risk because of speculations. We call across the political divide that whatever it is that we are going to state, it must be backed with facts, and we must be able to be consistent in terms of how we follow up on these issues. And so we'll make a comment at the right time regarding the Zafico issue. But it's unfortunate. It's not just Zafico. There are so many other issues where there are too many speculations, and at times some of them have come to pass. Government.
Transparency International Zambia has called for practical solutions that will be able to reduce corruption risks in the mining sector. TIZ has also noted the need for stronger monitoring and enforcement measures that will enhance accountability and transparency in the mining sector. Speaking during the orientation workshop on mining for sustainable development, combating corruption in mining approvals, TIZ Information Officer Charles Chulu says TIZ is working with government and civil society organizations to improve transparency and accountability in the mining sector. Mr. Chulu says the workshop will also strengthen national and international policy and existing mining transparency initiatives to enhance the contribution of the mining sector to the country's development.
Where we want to get information, in a way we want to promote transparency, in a way we want to promote accountability as well as integrity. So because this is mining for sustainable development, in a way it deals with land issues. The platform I'm about to show you doesn't necessarily belong to mining for sustainable development. It belongs to a project called Land and Corruption in Africa project. But it borders on land. And we understand how important a resource land is. So what we're trying to do now is getting to the people within the confines of their houses so that they themselves can start appreciating some of the processes that are around when it comes to issues of acquiring and owning land. So this platform was developed as a result of a needs assessment that was conducted, and one of the recommendations was that we needed a platform that informed the people on what they do, what they need to do in terms of processes.
The Zambia Institute of Environmental Management, ZIEM, has called on local authorities to ensure industries emerging within residential areas adhere to environmental guidelines. ZIEM Executive Director Morgan Katati is concerned that some industries have been allowed to operate in undesignated areas. Mr. Katati has cited block-making factories as some of the most notorious industries whose existence in some residential areas has a huge and long-lasting impact on households where they are operating in. He states that while these industries may be a source of employment, there is also need to look at their negative impact on people who reside in areas where they are located. Details in this report.
Dust from industrial processes has been linked to eye, nose, and throat irritation, leading to coughing and decreased lung function, among other health challenges. These are but a few challenges that the mushrooming of block-making factories in residential areas are likely to bring. However, some communities are arrived to this fact and cannot allow the situation to go on.
Yes, right behind, just right behind, barely 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 meters. That is where a residential house is located. Now, we can talk about situations, no, we're going to mitigate, we're going to do this. Nothing has been explained by DEFNI as to what mitigating issues they've taken into account. What have they done in relation to dust? What have they done in relation to ensuring that the noise that is heard at 5 a.m. and 6 in the morning when they start running their equipment stops?
I cannot bargain on the health of the community for the noise pollution. We cannot bargain with the health of the community for the impact that is going to have on the aquifer there.
However, there are some communities who do not care what is obtaining in their vicinity, maybe due to ignorance on where to report such cases, and they have left the situation to go on just like that. These block-making factories in areas designated for residential settlements may also be a source of problems such as water contamination and vibrations that would lead to the raising down of nearby houses in future.
These vibrations will definitely have an impact on the aquifer Dr. Moyo was talking about. And not only that, that tank is made of concrete. Reinforced as it is with steel, the vibrations themselves on a long-term basis will end up having cracks.
It is for this reason that the Zambia Institute of Environmental Management, ZIEM Executive Director Morgan Katati, is calling on powers that be to enhance their regulations on such industries.
We know that certain micro meters of dust, it can be very, detrimental to the health of the people, especially when we're talking about particulate matters. Because these block-making industries, they involve the use of cement and also the use of sand. So depending on the level of utilization, obviously they'll be able to produce certain quantities of particulate matter that once taken by the surrounding people may have some health impact. So it's important that a regulatory authority, I mean even the local authority like Lusaka City Council, can come, can move in and be able to have a conversation and also bring this to a stop, because obviously it is affecting the way the environment operates and also the human health.
There are actions every day people can take to protect the environment, and ensuring these factories are built in right places is just that. Chile Shamango reporting for QTV News.
Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary in charge of Technical Services, Dr. Jabin Mulwanda, says the Ministry of Health is committed to ensuring there is health security in the country. Speaking in a speech read on his behalf at the University of Zambia School of Medicine induction ceremony by the ministry's Assistant Director, Dr. Wesley Kaonga, Dr. Mulwanda says the ministry intends to recruit 30,000 healthcare workers by 2021, and such ceremonies are in line with its plans. He says those graduating will help provide a pool of health workers that will help provide healthcare services in the country. Dr. Mulwanda has since employed the graduates to ensure the skill that they have acquired is put to good use and help attain the universal health coverage.
I want to say that so far, Midway will be able to put or to recruit more than 50,000 healthcare workers. And so for those that are graduating, we know it offers a pool from which we will be able to call upon and ensure that the health services that needs to be provided to the general populace is something that we can achieve. The Ministry of Health has committed to ensure that we have universal health coverage using the primary health care approach, and to note that in the midst of the ones that are graduating today, we do have environmental health practitioners who form part of the frontliners as we implement primary healthcare services, is again something that we want to know the university for having achieved. As a ministry, we have committed ourselves also to ensure that there is health security within this country.
Speaking at the same event, University of Zambia Vice Chancellor Professor Luke Mumba says despite graduating so many healthcare workers, the schools at the university are faced with a number of challenges, such as teaching space, training equipment, and inadequate funding to support training.
The total number of graduates today is 608 as compared to 389 in the last academic year. This represents a 56% upward increase in terms of the numbers. And the breakdown is as follows. Nursing, 252. Out of this number, 64 come from our full-time program, while 188 from our distance mode. MBCHB, 117. Pharmacy, 66. Bachelor of Science, 67. And this program is offered in partnership with Chainama College of Health Sciences. And then we have the Biomedical Sciences, 52. Environmental Health, 29. And Physiotherapy, 25.
And one of the graduating students, Chitu Cholwe, says despite all the challenges faced during their training, they still worked hard to achieve what they have today.
Fashioned, well-equipped, superseding splendid health professionals we are today. We will always walk in the shadow of your greatness. Family and friends, whose faithful love and support knows no limit. Looking at how far we have come, both individually and as classes in various disciplines, we have grown both physically and mentally, with the help of the hardships at Ridgeway, such as being squattees, no BC, repeating, you can name it all. Our time here has not been a walk in the park. We have faced many challenges and obstacles, which we had to overcome. I cannot imagine the number of family members here grateful that their loved ones no longer have deadlines. Fashion.
Minister of Chiefs and Traditional Affairs Lawrence Chalwe has appealed to royal establishments in the country where chiefs have died recently to handle succession processes properly to avoid wrangles. Mr. Chalwe says his ministry is deeply saddened by the passing on of chiefs in various parts of the country between October and November 2018. Mr. Chalwe says he has noted the several succession disputes in various chiefdoms. Therefore, the need for royal establishments to ensure that successions are conducted in the right and proper manner to avoid the wrangles and that are already going on.
As a ministry, we are deeply saddened with the passing on of several chiefs. Our prayer as a ministry is that the various royal establishments will conduct the succession process properly, such that we do not have more succession disputes coming in. As you may be aware, we have several succession disputes that are coming up in the country.
A tire expert has advised motorists to adequately prepare their motor vehicles ahead of the rainy season. Patrick Nkunde, who boasts of 15 years experience in motor vehicle tire and suspension management, says the rainy season is quite challenging when it comes to motor vehicles and requires motorists to be on top of things in as far as management of their vehicle is concerned, especially the aspect of tires. Speaking in an interview with QTV News, Mr. Nkunde explains that motorists should ensure that tires on their vehicles have the right thickness, as that enables the pouring of water away from the road, thereby giving the vehicle proper contact with the road. He says it is this contact that makes it easy for the vehicle to maneuver on the road. Mr. Nkunde has also advised against using different makes of tires on a motor vehicle, which he says makes the response of the vehicle difficult.
The tires, as you may know, the size of the tire that we move on is no bigger than an A4 paper. So the plane that the vehicle moves on, the plane itself, for a four-wheel tire is no bigger than A4 paper. If you cut the paper into two from the bottom up to left to right, top to the bottom, those are the pieces that indicate the size of the contact surface of the tire to the ground. Well, tires go together with suspension. A lot of times you hear people say that, oh, I'm going to have the engine serviced, but also equally, the suspension must be serviced, because when you service suspension, you're actually maintaining the power that the vehicle is designed on. But power without control is nothing. If the suspension is not able to control the power of the engine, then the vehicle, you won't be able to control it. So in as much as we attend to the engine, let's attend to suspension. Suspension, you're talking about the tires, your shocks, your CVs, your rack ends, your ball joints, everything that actually is undercarriage must be well maintained so that your vehicle is actually safe to drive. The tires.
The Lusaka City Council has disclosed that management of waste in the city continues to be the biggest problem it is grappling with. Lusaka City Public Relations Manager George Sichimba has attributed this largely to people's irresponsibility when it comes to management of waste. Speaking to QTV News, Mr. Sichimba says the situation has been worsened by people who have turned drainages into dump sites. Mr. Sichimba explains that instead of sweeping the waste and dump it in right places after doing their business, some traders choose to shuffle the debris in the drainages. He says as a result of this, the city council finds itself spending resources on unblocking drainages at the expense of other needy areas. Mr. Sichimba has since appealed to the general public to be responsible when it comes to waste management.
That is the biggest challenge that we have, because even the new drainages that we are constructing, the other day I was in Chawama somewhere there, I found that people are trading they have even put covers on top, and they are trading on top of these drainages. And what they do is that the debris that remain at the end of the business day, instead of people collecting those and going to throw them in rightful places, or what people are doing is just sweep and push them into the drains. And you find that you keep on unblocking, even Kulimatawa around that place. People are in the habit of shuffling the waste in these drainages. And if you know, CBD the drainages are underground ones, and so sometimes it's even difficult to tell that someone has pushed in something solid that is blocking in there. So that is.
Financial sector deepening Zambia FSDZ has observed that poor financial literacy is a major barrier to financial inclusion in Zambia. FSD Zambia Chief Executive Officer Betty Wilkinson says this is because many people are not knowledgeable or confident enough to manage their finances well. Speaking when she launched a report on a 4-month pilot project to increase literacy through the use of mobile phones, Ms. Wilkinson has noted that in order to enable more Zambians to benefit from the many products on the market, financial literacy and capability should be provided alongside financial products. She says the project has helped FSD Zambia understand that there is a real opportunity to expand the way people get information about services a little better and subsequently ask questions. Ms. Wilkinson states that financial inclusion is uniquely positioned to create transformative opportunities for millions of Zambians.
They also revealed to us that they like to learn by different ways, some by hearing, others by reading. But what's important is that people have the opportunity to discover the basics and ask themselves questions with the ability to go back and listen or read the information again to make sure they understand and get it right. We are pleased with the speed at which this pilot took off. In fact, we're not pleased, we're shocked and thrilled. And we're really happy to see the diversity in people that were interested in the courses. From a young trader seeking to learn more about being a responsible borrower to grow her business, to the small-scale farmer interested to know more about how insurance could protect him and his family from potential losses. It's been valuable for us to see that the financial literacy platform works, and also that it works fast. This platform has shown that there's a real opportunity to expand the way that people get information about financial services, understand the services a little better, and subsequently ask the right questions. The next step for FSD Zambia is going to be to see how Zazu works with other organizations to deepen capacity and capability and help people better understand their finances. We will also be looking at how private companies could use Zazu as a vehicle to explain their financial products.
Speaking at the same event, Zazu founder Perseus Mlambo says his organization intends to increase the number of people accessing financial education and develop more unique courses in financial literacy.
It happens in the middle of the night. Somebody cannot call upon people at Mayfair to get a claim because they haven't got any insurance. Similarly, they can't go to the nearest bank or to the nearest bank branch because they haven't got an account to draw from their savings. And they can't call on their friends or family because they don't want to be a burden. So what most people often end up doing is to go to the loan sharks, otherwise known as a kalova. So these are people who give you maybe 20 kwacha and then you have to pay back 80 kwacha after a month. And the end result is just them stuck in this cycle of debt repayments. So at the beginning of the year, we had a hypothesis. If we developed financial content, would people use their phones to learn this? What we needed to do was to develop this content, so we approached FSD. And with FSD, we spent a few months looking at the various sources available. So we went to the Bank of Zambia and asked them, when you talk about financial literacy or when you talk about consumer protection, how do you define it? We went to the insurance regulator and said, when you speak about insurance, how do people understand it? We looked at the financial services available on the market and we saw how it happened.
The financial item concludes our news, but before I take a run, here is a recap of stories in the headlines. The Constitutional Court has overturned the High Court's decision to nullify the election of Nkanduluo as Monali Member of Parliament. Police in Lusaka have arrested 3 pastors for theft. And the Council of Churches in Zambia, CCZ, has expressed concern over the delay by government to enact the Access to Information Bill. That will do it for the news at this hour. Thank you so much for being with us throughout. Bye-bye. God bless.